in Mara's notebook. He thought of Rhodes's tearful confession. He thought of the chief's missing van and the ledger with initials. He thought of the smear of lipstick on the warehouse journal, and Hale found the P.O. box keys in Eric's locker. The box held a stack of receipts: van rentals, fuel purchases, laundromat slips, and one receipt for a motel stay under Lena's name. The signature on the motel receipt? Not Lena. Dana Rhodes's signature. Hale's head spun. He sat down hard in an evidence interview chair and felt the weight of the town press on him. If Rhodes was involved, how high did the conspiracy climb? If the chief was a puppet, who held the strings? He ordered surveillance on Rhodes. 3 days later, they trailed her to a remote cabin outside town. From a distance, they watched lights move inside. A car left the property at dusk. The license plate matched a municipal van logged as out of service. The van pulled into a gated compound owned by a private contractor used by the town, Rains and Sons, Paul's employer. Hale moved to arrest. Officers surrounded the compound. Inside, they found crates, more evidence bags, more uniforms, a series of binders cataloging resolved, unfounded cases. Tucked inside a binder, a list of names, dates, and amounts, payments marked with initials: MR, PR, DR, and OC. OC, O'Connor. DR, Dana Rhodes. PR, Paul Rains. MR, Mara Voss, number. The initials matched Mara's ex-husband, Michael Rains, Paul's brother, a family tie. As they sorted the binders, a young officer found a locked trunk. Inside, a high-end camera, memory cards, and a small box labeled June H. Hale's hands shook when he opened it. Inside, June's bracelet, a folded note. She saw too much. No signature. They had enough to arrest Rhodes and to bring Chief O'Connor in for questioning again. Under bright lights, she faltered. She admitted meetings, she admitted cover-ups. She cried for a moment and then went cold. She said the town needed secrets to survive. She said some people paid to keep peace. She wouldn't name the payer. Hale felt the net tighten, but as Rhodes spoke, a uniformed officer burst in, breathless. "Detective, Mara Voss has been located," he said. "We found her car at the River Road, but—" He stopped. Hale read the color drain from the man's face. "We found blood in the trunk." Mara's blood. Hale didn't believe it. He refused to accept it. They traced the blood. It matched Mara's DNA. Her phone pinged once that night, from a cabin outside town, then went dark. Someone had used her number. Someone had left a trail designed to lead them to one headline. Hale ordered a full search of the cabins. They found Mara's backpack hidden beneath a floorboard. Inside, Mara's notebook, page after page of notes, receipts, names. Her handwriting circled one name over and over: OC Chief O'Connor. At the back of the notebook, a sticky note. "If I'm taken, look to Dana. She will know the note was smeared with dirt and something else, fresh, metallic, like dried blood." Hale stared at the note until the room seemed to tilt. He called for reinforcements. He doubled security around Rhodes and the chief. He wanted them both behind bars before anyone could silence another witness. Then, in the lab, a new test returned. The blood from Mara's trunk, it was not hers. It belonged to someone else entirely, June Harper. The room went quiet. The implications crashed like a wave. June's blood in Mara's trunk. Had Mara been abducted and used as a pawn? Or was someone planting evidence to erase paths and point fingers that fit a different narrative? Hale felt sick. He ran his fingers through his hair. He thought of the note Chief O'Connor's wife's DNA on the scarf. He needed answers, and the answers kept multiplying. That night, Hale sat alone in the interview room. He replayed conversations in his head. He replayed the whisper, "Stop asking questions, or you'll be next." He checked the security footage of the evidence room. Hours of blank screens showed only one anomaly. At 2:12 a.m., a shadow moved across the lot. The camera blinked as if someone covered it. Then a white van pulled away. License plates unreadable. Hale looked at Mara's last entries. If anything happens to me, look to Dana. She will know he had Dana in custody. He had a chief who would not talk. He had Paul behind bars again. He had Eric pacing in a cell insisting he was set up. He had a town holding its breath. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. A voice, clipped, mechanical. Detective Hale. Stop digging. The next one will be your daughter. The line went dead. Hale's hand went numb. He stood, grabbed his coat, and ran out into the rain. He would protect his family. He would dig. He had to know who had been using town uniforms to move things, who had been rerouting phones, who had been signing the resolved stamp on lives. He had to find June. But as the wind slammed the squad car door shut, Hale didn't see the shadow slip onto his porch camera. Someone who watched him leave. Someone who wore tactical boots with a tread like the ones in the marsh. They watched the detective who wanted answers walk away. The file on June Harper grew heavier. Detective Mark Hale didn't sleep. He barely ate. The phone threats crawled under his skin. The town that once felt safe now felt like a maze of mirrors, every reflection hiding a hand that could close around his throat. He started with forensics. He demanded reruns on every sample. The lab worked through the night. Results came back in pieces. The blood in Mara's trunk was June's, but older. Microscopically older. Lab tech said it could have been planted weeks before, preserved, then placed to mislead. Someone had time and knowledge. Someone careful. Hale pulled June's last known movements again. He mapped the GPS pings, the camera timestamps, the ATM withdrawal. He mapped the web of town relationships until names connected like veins. O'Connor met privately with Paul the week before June disappeared. Dana Rhodes had dinner with Chief O'Connor the night before the ledger entry. Paul's brother, Michael Raines, had a business contract with the town, one that funneled municipal funds into a shadow account. The initials in the binder lined up with payments. MR, PR, DR, OC. Names that paid, names that were paid. Hale focused on Michael Raines. He traced his business records and found a trail of shell companies, payments labeled consulting that went to untraceable accounts. One payment, large and sudden, arrived 2 days before June vanished. The sender, a small private security firm registered to the chief's wife's maiden name. Hale had the lab pulled prints from the mud-stained boot print found at the marsh. Partials matched tactical boot soles issued to town officers, but the pattern had been modified. Someone had ground down the tread in places, disguising the print. That meant deliberate staging. Whoever did it understood forensic detail. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Lena, an elderly woman who ran a laundromat near the outskirts. She'd been quiet until Hale sat across from her and placed a photo of June on the table. Lena's hands twisted a tea towel. She admitted to washing uniforms for the municipal crew sometimes, overtime, cash. She said one night a month before the disappearance, a uniform came in smelling of river and rope. She'd noted the initials on the tag, Chief O'Connor's initials, but she was elderly and afraid. She kept her mouth shut. But Lena handed Hale something else, a faded business card shoved into a corner of her register. On it, a private email address and a logo for a company called Harbor Shield Solutions. The card matched the company tied to Michael Raines's shell payments, Harbor Shield, a private security front. Hale traced Harbor Shield to a rented office in a nearby city. The receptionist remembered a man who visited, Paul Raines, and a woman who signed as Dana. Surveillance from the office showed Dana Rhodes in conversations with a man who matched Michael Raines's description. Their car left the day after June's disappearance. The man held a small padded case. He did not smile. Hale had them all on paper now. Contracts, ledgers, photos, phone pings, but he needed a confession. He needed someone to speak. He needed Mara alive. He pushed the pressure. He publicly released partial details about the cover-up, enough to force political eyes onto the case without exposing the tactic they used to trap the conspirators. The town erupted. Protests. Calls for the chief's resignation. The mayor called for an independent review. Threats intensified. An unknown caller left a message for Hale's wife that made her hide secret places in their home. Then a tip came from an unlikely angle. Eric. From his cell, he insisted he could point them to a storage locker where he'd seen paperwork, signed receipts, ledgers, things he'd been paid to move. He said he'd been kept in the dark about names, but he knew locations. They brought Eric in for a supervised meeting. He talked. He named a motel, a particular cabin on the river road, the one where his truck had been seen. He described a man with a scar who handled ledgers, a woman with short hair who booked vans. He cried for most of it. He wanted bargaining chips in exchange for truth. Hale assembled a team. They moved on the cabin at dusk. It was empty. A pair of boots sat by the door. Tactical, new. The air smelled of bleach and coffee. They found a safe bolted to the floor. Inside, a camcorder, memory cards, and a stack of envelopes, marked with dates. Every envelope contained a photo or a note. One was June's missing bracelet. Another was a receipt for 3 ATM withdrawals that matched June's bank. A final envelope had a key, not to a car, but to a locker unit miles away. Hale traced the locker. Inside, a duffel bag, empty, a smear of red along the seam. Not blood this time, red paint. Inside the locker's back panel, someone had hollowed space. Hidden there, a small external hard drive and a stack of printed emails. The emails were between Michael Raines and an account registered under Chief O'Connor's wife's name. Language was curt. Deliver. Silent partner. Ensure no loose ends. Names mentioned. June, cleanup, and one chilling directive. Make sure Voss stops. The evidence built a case against the network. Harbor Shield as the logistical arm, Paul and Michael as the movers, Dana as the coordinator inside the department, and the chief as the point man. It seemed airtight. But then the video on the camcorder changed everything. They loaded the files in a conference room. On screen, grainy footage of June Harper, smiling nervously at the camera. A man off screen said, "We'll keep her quiet. We'll pay what we agreed." The camera panned to a table. On it, a ledger opened to a page that matched the chief's handwriting. Another angle showed a hand placing an envelope with cash into June's palm. June looked frightened, but not fighting. Then, the camera cut to a shot of Mara Voss, alive, bound to a chair, forcibly filmed. Her eyes wild with desperation, her voice raw. "They're not just taking people," she said directly into the lens. "They're making them disappear into records." They're making towns forget. Her gaze locked with the camera. "If this gets out," she choked, "they'll make it look like I left. They'll make it look like I stole her." She spat words at the camera like shards. "Dana, Michael, O'Connor, those names are linked." She mouthed a number and then went silent as the screen cut black. Hale watched. The room felt small. The evidence was monumental. Mara alive on tape, coerced into compliance, naming the ring. It should have been the leverage they needed. But things shifted again. Forensic timestamps showed the camcorder footage dated before the day June vanished. The ledger in the footage had a page marked with a future date. Someone had filmed June and Mara earlier, then used the footage to stage a timeline. The key in the locker? The locker registration showed it was rented under a fictitious name 5 days after June's disappearance. It dawned on Hale. They were not only covering up crimes, they were manufacturing evidence to control the narrative, to produce confessions, to plant blood, to stage discoveries. They could make anything look like anything. At the same time, political pressure mounted. The mayor pulled the chief aside, then announced a limited internal probe, one designed to appear thorough but slow. Activists complained. Families demanded arrests. The town's sense of justice felt performative. Hale pushed for federal involvement. He wanted an outside agency with resources and subpoena power. He sent his packet to the state attorney general. It took hours. He waited, watching the clock like a man watching an escape route. While Hale watched, someone broke into the evidence storage bay. Not through the lock, but through the roof. Cameras showed a figure in tactical gear, moving with practiced ease, avoiding sensors. They removed the camcorder, the hard drive, and the envelopes. They left a single card in its place. A photo of Hale's family home, taken from an angle only someone watching him would know. Hale felt the world tilt again. He found Dana Rhodes's interrogation harsher now. Under the pressure of new evidence, she cracked. Her voice was thin, and she sobbed as she told a partial truth. The chief had debts. Deep debts from before he joined the force. Michael Raines's companies had kept the department afloat with payments that were never properly authorized. When the chief resisted, Michael leaked things, embarrassing photos, threats. The chief signed because he feared what would happen if the ledger fell into wrong hands. The chief begged for silence. Dana complied. She said they never meant for June to be harmed. They meant to scare her, to pay her off, not, her voice broke, not to make her vanish. But that confession still left a shape missing. Who made the call to stop Mara? Who planted June's blood? Who filmed and manipulated time-stamped footage? Hale needed to know who wielded the camera, who ordered the staged scenes. He thought of the private security firm. He thought of the cabin on the river road, the padded case Michael had carried, the hollow locker, the hidden hard drive. He went back to Harbor Shield's office. The receptionist showed him a visitor log. Names blurred, but one name stood out, a contractor, G. Mercer. The company on file for Mercer, a government procurement firm that had supplied surveillance gear to small towns. Hale ran the name. The trail led to a man who kept multiple residences and moved through private security networks like a ghost. Hale found Mercer's rental agreement for a unit at a storage facility on the edge of town. He got a warrant. Inside the unit, surveillance monitors, several hard drives labeled with dates, a map of the town with pins, and chillingly, a list titled Influence Ops Names. On that list, Chief O'Connor, Dana Rhodes, Paul Raines, Michael Raines, and one more name, Detective Mark Hale. Hale's chest squeezed. Someone had placed him in the same list as the conspirators. A target. He felt the trap close. They had filmed, staged, planted, and now they had labeled him. A plan to discredit him might be underway. He hauled the hard drives to forensics. The lead tech warned him, "This stuff is sophisticated." They masked timestamps, altered metadata, routed footage through proxies. Whoever did this knows how to hide in plain sight. Then a new piece arrived. A courier hand-delivered a plain envelope to Hale's desk. No return address. Inside, a single Polaroid. June Harper, smiling, her wrist visible. A distinct scar on the inside of her wrist. Half-healed, recent. On the back, in handwriting Hale recognized immediately, Chief O'Connor's slanted loop. Hale felt hollow, the chief's handwriting bridging the gap between evidence and control. He looked up to find the room empty. The only sound, a distant thunder roll. The phone in his hand vibrated. Unknown number. He answered. A voice, close and familiar, whispered, "You should stop, for both your sakes." Hale demanded who it was. The voice laughed softly and said, "You're not the only one who wants answers, detective. But some answers are poisonous." The line clicked dead. He checked the Polaroid again. The scar on June's wrist was recent, not old. Someone had hurt her. Someone had photographed it and mailed it to him. A threat? A breadcrumb? Or a confession disguised as an intimidation? Hale drove to the address on the Polaroid's reverse, an old outpatient clinic 2 towns over. The lights were out. Inside, he found a waiting room with chairs pushed back haphazardly. On a clipboard, a patient intake form with June's name and a date stamped 3 days before she vanished. The doctor who signed it? A Dr. G. Mercer? The name hit him like a blow. He traced Mercer fast. Mercer had no medical license in the state. The clinic? Rented under a shell. The appointments? Fake. But the scar? Someone could have staged it there. Someone could have photographed it, planted images, and sent them on a dangling string to provoke Hale. He felt the net again tightening around him, around everyone. He left the clinic and headed to the storage facility where Mercer had a unit. The gate was open. Lights flickered. A single figure worked under a lamp inside Unit 12. Hale stepped toward the door, gun drawn. "Freeze!" he called. The figure turned. Not a man, not Mercer. It was Mara Voss. She was alive. Her hair was shorter, her face gaunt. She held a camera in one hand, a battered notebook in the other. Her eyes were hard and furious. "You shouldn't have come alone," she said. Hale lowered his gun slowly. Relief crashed into him, then suspicion. "Where have you been? We thought you—" "They used me," Mara interrupted. "They filmed me. They planted June's blood. They tried to paint me as the kidnapper, but they slipped. They always slip." She handed him a memory card. "This is everything they didn't mean to lose. The rest is hidden. But I can't go back. They'll kill me if I go home." Hale took the card with shaking hands and slotted it into his laptop in a corner of the storage unit. Files played, covert meetings, payments, and a clip that stopped him cold. It showed Chief O'Connor in the clinic with Dr. Mercer, not a doctor at all, but a technician for Harbor Shield, adjusting a camera strap on a patient's arm. The patient? June Harper. The camera filmed her wrist up close as someone drew a faint scar with a scalpel to fake an injury. Chief O'Connor watched, hands clenched. Hale felt bile rise. The clip cut to a shadowed figure lifting June into a vehicle. The license plates were blurred, but the pattern of mud matched that of the tactical boots. The figure's gait? Familiar. Hale froze as his mind placed a face he hadn't wanted to. Lieutenant Dana Rhodes, in silhouette. Mara whispered, "They wanted June to be scared enough to take the money. They wanted her to leave town, but she resisted. They panicked. They moved her to a holding place. They staged things to pin it on me when I poked too much." Hale stood. The rain started again, a soft sound against the metal. He thought he had them. He thought he could bring down the network with Mercer's files and the camcorder footage. Then his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Nice try. But you're chasing ghosts." Attached a photo of the storage unit door from the inside and a timestamp. 2 minutes ago. Hale spun around. The unit was empty. Mara had vanished. On the table, the laptop sat open. The memory card was gone. Subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for continuation and more chilling true crime videos.